Well, all right, welcome back for another beer tasting. I'm Kevin with CrafTeeBeer. Stick around because today I've got a raspberry ale. Today's raspberry ale is a 5.5% ABV raspberry ale from Dark Horse Brewing, and they are in Michigan. Started in 1997 by Aaron Morse. 5.5% raspberry ale. Let's see what they say about this on their website. Raspberry ale with raspberries added. That makes perfect sense. 5% ABV, 10 IBUs. This beer is light-bodied, easy drinking ale. We use real raspberries late in the fermentation, giving this beer a mild fruit flavor while keeping a very balanced malt profile. This may not be what some would expect from a fruit beer, but our brewers make good beer. Not fruity, carbonated malt beverages. Our motto is beer first, fruit second.
Fresh fruit not good enough for you, eh?
Well, all right. Well, the can is got a big raspberry and what looks like a bee, some flowers, has their logo. Raspberry ale. Should be pretty simple. Let's get the raspberry ale out of the can and into a glass. It's a muted pink rose color, pretty hazy, can see light through it but can't make out anything through it. 3 or 4 fingers of a white head with maybe a little bit of a rose hue to it. Really foamy, sticking around. Interesting. Another damn good looking beer.
It looks really good, Stewie.
Let's see what it smells like. Not a very strong nose. It's got kind of a little bit of a earthy fruit flavor, but it's very subtle. It's not very strong. Nothing really jumps out of this one. I mean, it's got a very slight hint of what maybe like a farmhouse ale, but very, very muted. So not very strong, but a little maybe funky, earthy, fruity nose to it. All right, let's try it. Cheers. It's got a really subtle flavor. It's not a strong flavor. It's not an extremely sweet flavor. It's a raspberry berry, kind of like you got an unsweetened berry. Maybe not overly ripe berry. So it's got a little bit of raspberry to it, but it's not a very strong flavor. Yeah, so it's interesting in the sense that it doesn't have any bitterness, doesn't have an extreme sweetness to it. It's got a very tempered flavor to it. It's just a very mild, slightly hints of berry ale, I guess. There's not a lot of flavor to it. So very easy to drink. It's so void of like any sweetness or bitterness that as you take a sip, you're waiting for it and it never shows up. I think I would have liked a little more sweetness to the berry. Maybe that would have done it. If they had thrown a little maybe bittering on the back end, I think that would detract from the fact that it was supposed to be a raspberry ale. So maybe just amp up the raspberry and with a touch more sweetness, whether it's from the fruit or from a little more malt sweetness, I think would have done this some justice. But it's pretty good. It's a clean beer, that's for sure, as far as flavor goes. I think I can see get some floaters in there, so we got something going on. Apparently, Dark Horse Brewing was featured in a History Channel reality show for at least one season called Dark Horse Nation. So I stumbled across that when I was looking into where the brewery was and what they were all about. So I guess they were on a reality show for one season.
Dark Horse Nation.
Go ahead and dump those cherries.
All of them?
Yep, the whole thing. My taproom partner and I are making a chocolate cherry stout. There's a secret ingredient I've got. Vanilla beans.
Do you feel competitive at all? I know this beer is going to be good.
One of the beers we're making is creme brulee beer. There's going to be parts of it that jump out on people's palates that I think will drive it to the top. Wiggs better brew something real good to top this one.
So there's a base of malt sweetness there. The raspberry, which isn't very tart or sweet, rides on top of that. Drops off pretty quick. I don't get any bittering. It's really, really muted. So you're expecting maybe a little bit more of maybe some tart or a stronger sweetness, or even a touch of bitterness on the back end. That just never shows up. So it's pretty even. The story's pretty flatlined from start to finish, at least for me. I mean, it's well done. It's easy to drink. It's got nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But it's a really low level, easy story. Dark Horse Brewing Company, Raspberry Ale. Another one checked in. The Raspberry Ale, 5% ABV, 10 IBU. It's got a 3.32 cap rating on Untapped. On here it says, a lot of people have asked us why there are bees on the label. Well, we don't really have an answer for you other than they just look cool. This is a light-bodied, easy-drinking ale. We only use real raspberries, so the flavor is very mild fruit and balanced, not what you'd expect from a fruit beer. Again, so it wasn't very sweet, wasn't very tart, so it's just natural natural raspberries, I guess, with nothing added. The way we see it, if we're the brewers, so it lets us make good beer, not some fruity carbonated malt beverage. Oh yeah, our motto, beer first, fruit second. So I checked this in. I gave it a 3.25 cap rating. I described it as really subtle flavors with this one. A low malt sweet base. The raspberries ride on that base. No strong tart, sweet, or bitter, and it's a low profile ale. The flavor profile that I gave it was light raspberry and subtle. So that sums this one up. Just a low profile natural raspberry ale with no real prominent characteristics that stand out, but sometimes maybe that's what you want in a beer. Not every beer should be in your face, I guess. Well, all right, there you go. If you want to find me on Untapped, it's CrafTeeBeer. Social media nonsense is in the description below. Subscribe, like, do all that crazy nonsense. I'm Kevin with CrafTeeBeer, and until the next beer tasting, cheers.